It's your girl Candy J coming to you with another episode of Candyology. And oh, wait a minute, wait, hello, oh, I have somebody in the studio with me, y'all. Miss Ruby Johnson. Hi girl, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm so happy to have you back.
Thank you. I had so much fun. I begged to come.
Yes, she did, y'all. I'm so happy. So listen, let's go and start this off first of all with the ways that you can reach me. All the shows are on YouTube, Candyology Radio, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Candyology CS. But then there are ways to reach Miss Ruby Johnson. You want to tell them how to reach you, my love?
Yes, I have Twitter, I have Instagram, and I have Facebook. Mm-hmm. These handles are the same on all three. One is Polly Dallas for the event that I host here in Dallas, and the other one is Black Sex Geek.
Black Sex Geek, Polly Dallas. And then there's an event coming up. Well, it's not coming up right now, but it's like, what, 6 months from now?
Yes.
6 months from now. In July. Tell them what's happening, child. Tell them what's happening.
July 24th through the 25th, we have Polly Dallas Millennium. It's an event that talks about ethical non-monogamy and all that entails.
Ethical non-monogamy.
Polyamory. Lifestyle.
See, for me, I know what that means, but you might want to tell the people what that really means.
What it means is that you're able to have multiple partners, either romantic or sexual. Everyone gives consent and everyone is aware, so you can have more than one.
More than one relations?
More than one relationship.
More than one relationship.
You can have two relationships, three, four, five, 6, 20.
I can have anyways.
You can have I'll say orgy. Can we say orgy?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. I've never had one of those.
You've never had an orgy? I hope my mom's not listening.
Whatever. Mommy knows what you do.
Yes, she does.
I've never
talk about orgy etiquette.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we talk about orgy etiquette, Mr. Don, can you throw up that Polly Dallas Millennium Save the Date? It is on July 24th through the 26th. And I think the flyer has the wrong address. Where is it now, Ruby?
It's at the Resource Center in Dallas. So you just Google Resource Center. You'll find it, and that's where we are. We're in at that venue.
So tell them what they can expect there.
What you can expect is you can expect speakers, you can expect vendors, who are selling wearables. You can expect the speakers to talk about polyamory, about dating.
Rewind. You said wearables.
Yeah.
Tell the people what wearables are.
Wearables can be many things. From the lacy wearable to the strap-on wearable to the leather, just everywhere wearable, to the nice scarf, nice shirt. You can wear a purse. You can just all kinds of things you can wear.
All kinds of things. Okay, I'm sorry. What else can they expect there?
Speakers, we have live podcasts that are going to be there. We have a couple of parties that we're going to have. We may have some outings to various places that are lifestyle oriented within Dallas. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Fun, education, and laughter.
Lifestyle oriented. Tell the people about these places. Now, I mean, what kind of places we talking about?
We have a couple in the DFW area. We have the Players Club in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Colette's in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's one more. My mind just went blank. It went totally
The Velvet Room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's another one. It's off of. It's in Euless. What is that one called?
The Players Club.
Oh yeah, that is the Players Club.
Yeah, and so there is just people who are wanting to, they usually go in couples. That's the typical, and they want to add a third or a fourth or a fifth, and it's just a physical interaction.
But let's rewind, because you said orgy etiquette.
Why do you want to go all the way back there?
I'm sorry. It stuck out in my mind. Didn't it stick out in your mind, people? Orgy etiquette.
Yes.
And honestly, I've never really thought about it. I probably could. Never mind. But let's talk about that for 5.2 seconds.
Yeah, 5.2 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to speak from my experience.
Okay.
I've thrown a couple of sex parties, if you want to call it that. You can call it that. And it's basically a party of 30 or 40 people who get together, various rooms, and you have fun. You can watch, you can participate. So the etiquette comes around that level of watching, participating, and how you deal with fluids and how you deal with safer sex practices. If you're walking around nude, don't go into the kitchen, that kind of stuff. Because people are butt ass naked and they want to sit on my cloth couch. I'm like, I have towels. You must lay the towel down. So that's protecting the space. We condoms for everybody, even if it's your partner. Y'all don't use condoms. Everybody put condoms on because you're gonna have multiple people. Mm-hmm. And when you have multiple people, you say, make sure you wash your ass. I have a shower in there. Make sure you ask people before you touch them.
I mean, some of this sounds like common sense. Yeah, however, common sense is not common. So
yeah, because when you're in that kind of a hedonistic environment, it's intoxicating. Sex can get you high. Mm-hmm. It's very euphoric and you feel good, all that dopamine flowing, and you can lose your mind.
Right.
And so there's rules posted on my
Wait, you said there's dopamine flowing, but is there actually dope flowing too?
Part of my etiquette is this. I don't want to see it. You may be doing it. I don't want to see it, and I don't want to smell it. Mm-hmm. And there's a yard. Mm-hmm. Go, I can't believe I'm saying this.
We're just talking about orgy etiquette. That's all. What? Huh?
Yeah, and there's things like don't touch unless you ask. Some people have parties when you just can't watch. You got to participate. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want to feel like, some people are not exhibitionists. There for your, your taking, and there's rooms where you do certain things. Like this room is for kink. This room you can watch people. Kind of like going to a sex club. They have ones you can watch. You have curtains and things you can do. That type of stuff. Some people don't want kissing. But the etiquette, the main etiquette is in following house rules. That's the main thing you do. And there's a certain, just things that happen within the lifestyle. Like, for example, the woman goes and asks, it's typically heterosexual oriented. Mm-hmm. The woman go and they ask them, the other female, hey, do you want to play, or et cetera. Those types of protocol. In my world, it's you have some same-sex orientation. So all of that stuff doesn't play into it, but you have the queer people that, is the pansexual people. Mm-hmm. Pansexual is, I just want to be surprised when you lift your pants up, It don't matter.
Is that how you describe?
That's how I define pansexual. When we go home, I will be surprised. And then you have bisexual, person likes female or male, man or woman. Then you have queer, it's very fluid, from trans to non-binary to all of that. I'm just defining all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, yes, but I love it because I want, because there's a lot of people that do watch that are like, well, what was this and what is that? And that's why I always stop and say, oh wait, what was that?
Right.
Yes. So, you also mentioned hedonistic. Can you explain hedonistic to people?
Oh, that's me. I'm a self-profound hedonistic person. I like all things from all senses that are pleasurable. I just like pleasure in everything that I do, and I like a lot of it. I'm a glutton for pleasure. I like lots of things, and I'm looking at you, Candy.
Don't you start with me, Ruby.
I like things.
You can't get it out. So funny. So listen, you mentioned all of these things are a version of kink. Kink has a to me, it's a very fluid definition. However, give me what is your definition of kink?
I describe kink as anything that is not vanilla, non-conventional. Things that are not normally sexualized or considered sexual. That's outside of male-female penetration. And so you can have BDSM as a kink, you can have fetishes. And so kink I consider it an umbrella that is present. And BDSM, I think we talked about this last time, but I'm going to repeat it again. It means bondage, discipline, sadomasochism, master slave.
Leave the S and the M off for me. But no, I'm kidding.
I'm a straight up sadist, boy. I'm a straight up sadist. I went to a party today, and oh God,
go ahead, girl. Tell it all. I'm sweating. What happened at this party?
See, and I'm still feeling good from the party. It was an event for women who are tops or doms.
Okay.
Yes, for all of us, we got together and we had a tea service, and the boys or people's slaves or property or etc. They served, and then we got to play afterwards with them. And so the play. Oh my God, I'm talking. You get this shit out of me. And so we had someone on a cross. St. Andrew's cross is when you bound 4 point, or you could be bound 2 point in your legs. This depends on whatever your mood, and you can do whatever you want to do. I like to make you scream. Oh, God.
So what aspect of BDSM or kink do you specialize in? Perfect timing.
Who put that question up there?
Oh, I did, but he had perfect timing on throwing it on the screen. So what aspect of BDSM or kink do you specialize
As
in?
a therapist?
As a therapist and in your personal life as well.
Maybe I should just stick to personal life. Because, I'm here not as a therapist. I am here as a person who's just enjoying life. I'm not in my professional role right now.
Hedonistic.
I'm hedonistic.
So,
for me, I consider myself a sadist. I like to do psychological torture, specifically. I do cockball torture. I prefer.
Can you explain to the people what cockball torture is?
Like it sounds. Cockball. You can slap it. You can pull it. You can put your heels on and step on it. You can do all of these things, and the idea is the torture and pain that people enjoy doing. So I did a little bit of that today. But my biggest thing is that I love impact play. I love spanking. I love paddles. I love floggers. I love whips. I like people to be restrained or bound when I do it. I like people. Some of the wildest I've done is at parties, and I like make someone bleed one time.
Oh wow!
Broke the skin. That's so much fun.
See.
Oh my gosh. Can we do? Are we putting? Is this live?
Yes, this is live. Now, see, I can't get. I need light BDSM. You can't make me bleed.
Well, that was out of the ordinary. I'm not into blood play. I'm not into fluid play. I rarely do any type of edge play. Edge play involves that, from choking to using, a blade, to there's all types of thing that's considered edge play. I don't do very little of that. I'm mainly into the impact and the bondage and the psychological piece. I don't do degradation. I don't do humiliation. I don't do any of that. But the psychological piece is around, not knowing, just inflicting fear. I like to inflict fear.
So where would you say that stems from, though?
Belief that it's an orientation and it comes from that particular place. And I was actually talking to someone about this today. They said, so how long have you been, she calls it the lifestyle. So I view things as orientations. How long have you been in the lifestyle? I said since I was like 17, because I didn't know the word kink. I didn't know the word BDSM. I didn't get all of that terminology until I was like 36, 37. In my life and in my world, it's just what it was. I have not had consensual sex which did not involve me topping someone. The guys that I wanted to top is when I am doing the inflicting and someone is receiving. So I've always been in a relationship where either the guy wanted me to peg him. Pegging is when you can put on a strap on, or you can do it with your holding. But it's when you give a man anal sex. And you're.
It's kind of fun, actually.
It's what?
It's fun. It's real fun.
Isn't pegging fun? I love it. I like to put the legs over the head and get on top.
And I didn't even know what it was when I first did that. I was like, oh, this is enjoyable.
And that's what it was. I had guys who wanted to do that. They wanted anal play, of some type of anal play, or they wanted me to put a collar on, or they wanted to buy me boots and lick my boots, or they wanted me to wear corsets, or they wanted me just to do this type of dressing. Their fetish, was the clothing or the boots. And so this is a good example of a fetish. A fetish is when you get some type of inanimate object that is not typically considered sexual, and you sexualize it, or you give it some eroticism,
like feet.
So you have fetish for feet. I like to show my toes. You like to show your toes? You can make money from that.
Oh yeah, I know. Girl, yes, ma'am, I do. I'm
discovering that people like hands too.
Yeah,
not that discover people like hands, but take pictures of your hands, especially have long fingers. You can do things with them.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think to me the most bizarre one though was like someone had a fetish for a fish, and it was weird to me, and not too many things are weird to me, but that one was weird. He wanted to put the fish on my feet, and that was sexualized to him.
That's too much.
I was like, wait, and he said, yeah, it turns me on, and you don't even have to do nothing, you just gotta let it slither in between your feet. And I was like, is this a live fish?
I'm not going to yuck their yum. If that turns them on.
If that's what turns you on. But I had so many questions. Like, how did you discover that you like fish on people's feet, and that's what gets your rocks off? I mean, hard. What? And he was like, well, I don't know. My dad used to take me fishing, and then I like to see the fish and the slither. But how then did you associate that with feet? And Yeah, it was just an interesting
Right.
story for me.
Yeah.
But
And and this is important to mention, when I'm doming or topping a guy, there is the eroticism is in the actual play and the act. It doesn't have to involve penetrative sex.
right.
Kind of like with the guy who wanted the fish on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he did with your feet and the fish.
He didn't want any penetration. He didn't want any of that. He just was elated by it, and he would get hard and just jack off. And
like, okay,
that's it. Okay, cool beans. That's what gets you off. Okay,
yeah.
Just know that that's not what gets me off. But okay, I want to make sure that we're clear.
But I like to be worshipped. I like to be a goddess, and so if you. And part of the worshiping is the feet or some type of body worship or something like that, and most of the times it's my legs and feet that people want to worship, and I let them worship. I can take my pants off and show you my legs.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Really. I'm sure you would. Anyways, so let's So tell me, but I am about to switch you to therapist side for just a second. Well, probably more than a second. But so what type of issues do people come with you? Because you specialize in BDSM and kink and non-monogamous relationships. What type of issues do people come to you with?
Typically, there's, I guess, 3 issues they mainly come with. One of them is that they have some level of shame about their sexuality and their sexual expression or what turns them on, because it is considered kink and it is considered non-conventional, and so people in society and the world want to say, oh, you're crazy or you're sick or that's nasty, and so they come in to me and they're like, I'm really into blah and it really excites me, but I have some shame about it, and I want to bring it to my partner, and I want to introduce them to that, and they don't know how to do it. So that's one. Another one is looking at the combining kink and non-monogamous relationships, because typically there's a power dynamic that's involved. It's a power exchange. Someone is maybe dominant, someone is submissive, or top, bottom, and so bringing that into polyamorous relationships can be very complex because it's multi-partnered.
So what makes it so complex?
It's the power. It's the power. There's a great book called Power Circuits in polyamory, and it talks about how I can be in a relationship with you, Candy. I could be your top or your dom. And I consider our relationship, I consider it primary because it's a 24/7, which means it's not just in the bedroom. I give you protocols, I tell you how to eat, how to dress, etc. Now you decide, because we're polyamorous, that you want to go and get a partner, you want to go and get someone, and it will disrupt our protocols. What do you do?
What do you do?
That's a whole big conversation, and I can't give it to you in 2 minutes.
We got more than 2 minutes. But my question is, okay, so, and I've seen this as well. So now I have 2 other partners. Not me personally, but I mean in this dynamic. I have 2 other partners, and these 2 other partners now want another partner, right? So, do they come to you with these type of situations?
The submissive, do they come with whatever move they make? It is something, if it's set up in the protocol. Some people, it just depends on how you have it set up. For some, yes, you do come and you say, I have a partner, and my partner's partner, they may be getting partners, and the reason being is this. If it's going to influence the relationship in any type of way, your dom is probably going to want to know that it's going to influence the relationship. Some people have relationships, and if you have your partners, great. But if your partner gets partners, does it impact us? I don't really.
Sometimes, some not.
Because when there is a 24/7, there may not be sex involved. Some people, but they still have that side of wanting to, have sex, but this could be non-penetrative, that aspect, and maybe I just want a sexual partner.
Right.
And you have those conversations. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-fledged relationship. It's polyamorous, and so it could be one where there is an emotional aspect of it, that is considered love. It could be that I want a friend with benefits. I love my friend, and we have that piece of it. It's just, it can look all types of ways.
Is there one that comes to you quite often?
Typically, it is the master-slave relationship. That's the one that comes to me most often. And
explain that to the people.
Oh my goodness. This is okay. Put the professional hat on, because I can put the personal hat on, and it'd be a whole nother conversation.
I mean, you can switch hats at any point.
On a personal level, the master slave, master property is not my cup of tea. It's loaded, and it comes with a lot of history, and it sits with me fundamentally, not my thing. Put the therapist hat on. Okay, I will work with you with where you're at.
Right.
That book, Power Circus, that I mentioned, is about master slave and polyamorous relationships and what that looks like. But typically, it is how it sounds. You have someone whom is typically 24/7, and you have someone who basically you give aspects of your life to them, and they control it. You're treated as basically their slave.
So, is that also where you tell me what shoes I can put on? Or you tell me what dress I can put on?
Yeah, those are protocols. And in that particular relationship, it just depends on how you have it set up. How you want it to do it. I want you to. I have one client who's slave or submissive, or if you want to, I think it was more of a daddy little girl relationship, which is age play in itself. I'm saying all of these things. I'm hoping people are inferring
some things, and I'll stop you if I really feel, because we've talked about age play on the show before as well. So we've had a couple of BDSM, so some people will know. But we'll
good.
Stop back.
So I can keep on going. Okay, and so with those particular relationships, it just depends on how you have it set up. And I had this one who was in a daddy little girl relationship, and he says you need to give yourself 5 affirmations every morning, because she suffered with low self-esteem. And so one of the things that I like to mention, when I'm working with clients, how is this going to be beneficial to each person? How is your submissive going to grow and blossom? This is not about them staying under your thumb and you're controlling them to the point to where they can't breathe, move, or have a life. That's not what this is about, and I let people know, because they have this idea when this person comes to me, it's kind of like 50 Shades of Hell, that movie, that or it's some level of what they put on the TV, where it's not lined up to be something where you grow and you blossom and you and so those types of relationships are what I work with.
So let's talk about the mental health aspect of it then.
Yeah, mental health aspect of kink. Well, this is gonna put my personal hat on real quick.
Okay.
So my practice is in Dallas, and I work in Dallas, and so I work with the polyamorous and kinky community. So it's difficult for me to find a space to play where there's not a client or not someone. So for like 3 years, I was in this depression. I was like, I can't shake this. It was impacting things in my life. I would go, and it seemed to be impacting my work and how I was able to be empathetic. And then someone had an event at my house that was a kink party, and I got to play, because these were not people, these are people from out of town. And it's like my whole world shifted. Because there was it was an identity inside of me that was not being expressed. That's number one. Number two, it's a lot of release there for me. It's a level of empowerment within my life, and so that uplifts my mood. And so I did not recognize that me suppressing myself was not very good for my mental well-being. Not very good. Now, that's a personal note. Now, with people, when they come into my office and it's around mental health, or it's around some level of something that's happened in their life, or it is around just, I don't want to use the word PTSD as in sexual trauma, because people want to say that everyone who is kinky or into BDSM has had some level of sexualized trauma. That is true. People do have trauma. There's a huge piece of the world that has experienced trauma, but that does not mean that that is necessarily what created the idea of a BDSM and kink. However, it is very empowering for people to bring consent into their BDSM when something was taken away from them through sexual assault or something like that. And so it can be very healing for some people, because you're able to say no, yes, give permission, and that's the empowering piece. You know, even if it's non-consensual, it could be consensual, non-consensual. It's that idea that I have voice in what happens to me, you know.
That's funny, because I was dealing with someone that she became dominant for that particular reason, because she had been raped. And so she was like, oh, no one's ever going to do this to me again. So you don't even have like, in her head, she was like saying, you don't have the option. No. So because it's me that's going to tell you what to do.
Right.
And she loves the lifestyle. But it's very true. Very, very true.
And then for some people, you know, going this piggybacking off of that, like, no, it's their part of their life, and they're like, they're not going to experience that. For some people, they want to be taken care of. They want to submit to someone telling them what to do. I just don't want to make any decisions. And it's typically people who have, you know, that level of, you know, they're managers or attorneys or
CEOs,
you know, those in the C-suites,
lawyers,
right?
judges. I've seen
and they want to do that. And for them, okay, we're gonna set this aside. And then, you know, and so they want to have that sense of release that comes with that, you know.
Right.
And for some women, you know, it's the same in the same space, that they want to be the dominant because they want to be able to take control, and, you know, they may even want to have, you know, oh God, this is going to get me in trouble. Just know that this is an aspect of it, and it's a very true aspect, you know, that some women, if they're of one particular race or ethnicity, they want to get someone who typically, you know, mistreats them. You know, it's very patriarchal, like.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. I already know what's about to come out your mouth. Go ahead and say it.
I like white men. I like to talk white men. I like to whoop their asses and make them suffer. And there's many reasons that is there, but I'm going to leave it at that.
I mean, a lot of us can guess for those reasons.
You know, but I prefer to be in relationships, and if it is going to be sex involved within that relationship, I prefer to be a woman. It doesn't matter ethnicity. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Okay.
I'll leave it. I'm leaving my therapist hat on. Oh my gosh.
On that note, guys, we have to pay the bills real quick. So we're about to take a break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Power Play Radio Network.
This needs to happen.
Here at Parties to You Texas, we specialize in creating not just an event, but a lasting memory. We are sure that you'll find something that fits your fancy at affordable prices. We offer pony rides, face painting, balloon twisting, and trackless trains, characters, and so much more. Need a bundle deal? No problem. Give us a call today at 877-PARTY07.
Hey guys, we are back. You are watching Candyology on Power Play Radio Network. I'm sitting here with my girl Ruby. We've been, talking about a few things. We are basically right now on mental health and kink, guys. So, what do you think? What do you think that people really think about kink? Like, what is the real issue when it comes to mental health? Why do people have an issue? What do you think?
When it comes to mental health and kink, what is the big concern about it? I think the big one is about consent and negotiation. Is that what we're talking about?
We can talk about that, definitely.
Unless I want to make sure I answer your question.
No, you are, though.
Okay. Because one of the big things around BDSM relationships and, just in relationships in general that are considered not vanilla, non-conventional. I don't want to use that exact opposite. Is that you need to consent to these things. When it's two adults or multiple people within it, everyone needs to be on the same page. And part of being able to negotiate is that there's places in you that are healthy and functioning at their optimum place. So say, for example, you have an individual who is kinky within your group and they're not taking their medication. They're not taking their medication, so they may be more sad. There may be some issues where they're not able to make a full, they don't have the agency or the ability or capacity to make a certain decision because they're not on their medication. Or you have an individual who's had a rough time. They've had, lost a job, lost another relationship, mom and dad issues, and so they may be more reactive or more impulsive. Within that decision making. Or you have an individual, who has a personality disorder. And so they're always, not necessarily negative. No, but there's things that need to be involved. You have individuals who do have trauma in the past. And so all of these aspects of mental well-being and mental health need to be considered because you need to be able to say yes, no, maybe. If you do that, you do this. You have to be able to do that without saying I'm people pleasing or I'm doing this because you want me to do it.
Well, shit. Those are heterosexual things as well. I mean, not heterosexual. Monogamous relationship things as well.
We're talking more about kink aspect, which can be monogamous, not monogamous, or any aspect. But in negotiation, yes, I believe that's across the board. If you're negotiating a relationship dynamic, even in monogamous relationships, if you're negotiating a scene with you and your partner, and you want to make sure everybody's on their money. I have what's real big, within all relationships, especially heterosexual relationships, is that obligation sex or obligation activity. When I'm doing it because I think I have to, or I don't want to see you pout, or I don't want to be punished, or I'm doing something because I'm scared I'm going to lose you, or all of this shit that comes up and saying, I got to do this, say yes when you really mean no.
Right.
And that also brings on mental health concerns right there. I see that a lot. There's a lot of anxiety that comes into my office because people are doing stuff they don't want to do.
So, in going into any of this, there's supposed to be, well, in my head anyway, and I think it's just good practice anyway, but there's supposed to be rules, there's supposed to be boundaries, there's supposed to be verbal or nonverbal written or verbal contracts to all of this stuff. And so when I think about where is the breakdown, where does it come in where, okay, so you're not following, or you're not, what do I want to say? What do I want to call it? You're not vocalizing there's a problem. Is it A, because there is a actual mental health issue, or B, is it just because you're just not saying anything? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and it's not mutually exclusive necessarily. because people ask this question all the time. How do you know what is mental health, well-being behavior, or just bad behavior?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you know? Someone's being an asshole, or there's something going on that they're acting inappropriately. Even in my language and saying it different. But is that an excuse to be an asshole because you're not taking care of yourself? No. But we do need to figure that out. And so there is some responsibility because you made you made a very valid point. There's something not being followed and you're not saying anything. Is it because mental health or is it because you're not saying anything? So the person that you're saying yes to has a responsibility also.
Mm-hmm.
If they know you have depression or have some trauma or something going on in your life and they see something and they know you and they see something going on, they'll start questioning and saying, well, that's more like an I don't know. So it's a hell no. You know?
Right.
Are you feeling what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it falls on both people.
Right.
On many levels. And sometimes you have to really know a person. And that's my thing. I don't like to play with people I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we do get ready to negotiate or have a particular scene, I want to know that are you someone who is a people pleaser and you will say yes. And so I will call that shit out. Because you can tell when someone is like saying something and they really don't want, if your ass is paying attention and you're not that self-centered and narcissistic to see it, you know, we can talk about narcissism, you know, and you not that. Okay,
Go ahead.
so,
Go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
but yeah, that's it. I just started saying narcissism and got twisted up because that's an ugly word. I mean, we all have narcissistic traits,
Of course.
but then there's a narcissist.
Do you want to explain to the people what a because I there are plenty of people I know that don't know what a narcissist is.
Now, the clinical definition, I will have to have a book, sit down there and read it, but I can give you characteristics of a person who is narcissistic. These are individuals whom are very uber self-centered, uber people are there as a means to an end, uber, you know, manipulative.
Users, yes.
And it can be really ugly. They can basically use people in the world to fill their insecurities.
And
They're
they
very
turn
cruel.
everything around to make it all about, oh, you did this and you did and no, you were manipulating me so that I anyway.
And now these are all characteristics that are considered, you know, part of people. But when I use the word uber, I mean it to the extreme. There's a great book called Disarming the Narcissist. I think everyone needs to read.
I think I read a few excerpts from it, but I haven't actually read the whole book.
Yeah, read the whole book, girl. Because it talks about the narcissist and the people who are in relationships with the narcissist and how those people in the relationships can.
Yeah, I need to read the whole book. I need to read the whole book.
Are you in a relationship with a narcissist?
I can't. I will not. But I was thinking about like homeostasis, about like how do we bring? Oh, you okay, Father? In the name, do I need to give you the Heimlich? Oh, I'm sorry. To make it even worse. I'm sorry. But I think how do we bring a balance back? Like, so what would be your advice to your people? Are you okay?
Girl, I'm trying to talk.
Oh Lord.
I'm back.
Okay. how because I think about some of the things that you brought up. How do you bring that balance back to the people? You know, when they come to you and they sit down and they're, okay, this is my issue, you know, with everything that's happening with their group or however many people that we're talking about at the time. Oh, you know what? That's a good question. Two, do you ask for everybody involved to be there?
Oh, that's a good question.
You okay?
No, I'm thinking out loud.
Oh, okay.
I swallowed water and it went down the wrong tube.
It's not good. I can think of so many nasty things to say to you right now. But,
So that's a good question, because if it's a polycule, there's family therapy, and then there's individuals who need work. So that's when it becomes a collaboration between therapists. I think at certain points it's important to bring a group in, especially if all of the group there's a particular power dynamic that is impacting. It could be abuse, all of this stuff. I think at some places it is important to bring everyone in, especially when there's a possibility of consent violations, people not negotiating, all of those various things that can create a coercive environment or something that's just not optimal and working. I think sometimes that's very important, but also it's important to do a good assessment to figure out, is this an individual problem, two-partner problem, or is this an entire polycule problem? So I think the assessment is the real big piece.
Okay. Yeah, because I just was thinking about, how are we bringing back the balance,
I missed that part of the question. So bringing back the balance when things have gone topsy-turvy because of mental well-being, and someone may have a lot of anxiety or a lot of depression, and how that goes throughout, and it becomes dysfunctional, and how you want a homeostasis back, things back to where it was, and I believe when you do have an individual and they're involved in a kink family or a poly family, I believe the entire family needs healing. The entire family needs to be dealt with and talked with. It's not just an individual, because this impacts everybody. And so when you bring the family back together, I think a lot of that, how that happens is through a lot of psychoeducational stuff. A lot of, let me educate you and give you some tools and some skills so that you're actually able to refer to this and have science. Just do some preventative stuff, some safety planning stuff, and all of this stuff helps. Getting it back to balance is going to be how they move, and do they have the communication skills and all of that.
Because communication is everything.
So
absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I want to kind of go back to something else that we were talking about. We were talking about fetishes for just a moment. And I was just thinking about, have you seen anything crazier than what we have mentioned before? And even though I say crazy, but everybody has their own definition of crazy.
Some things that are really unusual. In the process of getting my sex therapist certification or sex educator certification, there's what we call the SAR that happens, and it's the, oh God, I can't remember that. Don't judge me, ASEC.
Aptitude, no.
Sexual. Let's Google it real quick.
Girl, I can't think.
I can't think right now either. But within that, you actually get to experience and get education and exposed to many different fetishes and kinks and etc. Also, exposure comes from my own research. Also, it comes from working with colleagues who work with kink and what their experiences are. But personally, the most interesting things that I experience are around body odor. And people who like to, their partner not to bathe, and how that can create issues because you have a partner who says, I want to bathe, and my partner wants me to be 2 days no bathing before they have sex with me or go down on me. And so that can create...
Now that one I have never come across.
Oh, it's a thing.
Oh, wow. I've honestly never come across that one yet.
I have a mentee, and I'm not going to use her name. And she has, I would never listen to this show. She has this guy who's super interested in her, and he has this thing around wanting to eat her ass after she's had a bowel movement.
Wow.
Or he wants to eat her ass after she's worked out and it's sweaty or something like that. Or how he's like, I don't want you just to bathe your entire body for like a week, and I want to have sex with you. It's something about. Some people just have things around scents and odors, the musk around it. It's very.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard someone say about guys working out and then not taking a shower and still, really wanting to have sex with them in that manner. Yes, I've heard that. But
that now just one day and not
right, not 7.
You're not, you know, if you work out, baby, and you have that sweat going, and there's a little there. I mean, my ex-spouse, I just love their smell. They smell like strawberries and cream. And they smell more like strawberries and cream after 2 days. But I don't want to. You just smell
7.
good.
Sexual attitude reassessment seminar.
Thank you.
Yes. But that's SAR. But I cannot think of it for the life of me. But wow. I just after a bowel movement.
Yeah,
I don't want to smell myself after a bowel movement.
Some people are into scat,
Yeah.
golden showers.
Yeah.
Some people like to be urine and all of that. I mean, those are the things that you see on those TV shows. There's some people who have relationships with trees, like love affairs.
Yeah.
With trees, that's some people who like amputees. They want to have.
Yeah.
But my biggest one is around body odors, and because that gets into people's hygiene and that becomes issues in relationships.
Absolutely. Because one day I'm like, sir, ma'am,
and someone
get your life together.
Someone may want, their partner not to shave, but they want to shave, and because they have a hair fetish. And it's usually I call it mixed orientation sexuality. Their erotic templates are kind of clashing. So that's another big one. So that's the stuff I see.
Yeah, because I ran across someone that wanted their woman to have the bush underneath the armpit because it turned them on, and I was like, okay, all right, great, that's awesome for you. But she won't shave.
I cannot think of the kink around massages. There's a kink. It's a type of massage. It's real common in the African community. But anyway, I digress.
Girl.
I'm thinking, and I keep forgetting that we're on this show, and I'm thinking over here.
It's okay. But was there anything else that you can think of about around mental health and kink? Because I think we've covered a lot, to be quite honest. I was just looking to see if there was anything that we kind of missed.
You're so good. You have all your notes and shit.
Misogynist behavior is now a term. Yeah, we covered a lot.
Yeah, misogyny in the kink world there's a lot of power structures that come from society. And it's just in one big incubator. It's a small world, and it happens and it falls down. From misogyny to racism, sexism, genderism, socioeconomic stuff. All of this stuff impacts your mental well-being within communities, and especially for Black folks, people of color. Because we already deal with the bullshit out there in society, and you come into this other community and marginalized group, and you deal with it on another level and on other levels, So that's why a lot of Black communities like to stick within their communities and create their own, because have to deal with a whole lot of stuff.
And a couple of people that have come to me, the biggest one that I've heard from our African American people are, he wants to hit me, and I'm not enslaved, and I'm thinking to myself, it has nothing to do with enslavement. It's just a pleasurable thing for that person to do.
Yeah.
However, that's the mentality.
That comes with history attached. I'm getting ready to do a presentation January 26th, and it's for Club Femme, and so it's Black femmes, right? And so I'm doing this training, and it's on eroticized race. And it actually, I'm going to have a couple that I'm interviewing. They're in an interracial relationship, but he wants to have the reverse, to where she's the master and he's the slave. And they want to have it reversed down to language, down to name, down to it all. And this is going to be.
You haven't invited me because
you want to come?
Yes. Hello.
That would be a good couple to have on your show, because it's gonna become heated. I can just feel it in my bones, because there's two different schools of thought around kink and race. There's two different. Some people are like, it's reinforcing those oppressive structures that we have within our society. There's another piece around people who are saying you're using whips and floggers and paddles. That's what they use to break our will. And then you have the other side where it's a fetish, is what we're into, and we enjoy it. So,
yeah. Oh, yes. January 26th. Yeah. Where is this located?
I'll give you details.
Yes, absolutely. Now, that's July 24th through the 26th for Poly Dallas Millennium.
Yes.
And we talked about that earlier, guys. So, you can go on to your website.
You go on to Poly Dallas. Yeah, you can go on my website, and it'll link you to Poly Dallas Millennium, which is up there. And you'll keep updated information. It's always important to go to the website. And so when you register, it'll have all the updated information. So these save the dates may be out there, but there may be changes and whatnot.
Yes. So, again, all of that information of how to reach Miss Berube, Black Sex Geek, or Poly Dallas, our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Again, how you can reach me is candyologycs.com, or you can go on to Candyology Radio on YouTube, Candyology CS on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. This has been a riveting conversation. Again, ma'am, you never fail me. And all of this great information that you've given out. I'm so blessed to have you on the show. But guys, so I just want to make this quick announcement. I don't know how long of a small hiatus I'm going on, but for at least the month of January, you will not see this beautiful face on Candyology. Okay, there's some things going on, but I shall be back. I promise. I will get the for February, I have this wonderful person that you all know, but I'll drop hints on Facebook and Instagram. She will be coming on my show, and you won't want to miss it. I promise. You won't want to miss it. Okay, so anyways, yes, you know how I end this show. I am wishing you love-filled days and orgasmic nights. Have a great day.